Hey everybody, this is Jonathan Rosenfeld, Director of Demand Generation at Bython. I'm joined with Jared Thomas from iPullRank, and we have two leaders in SEO here today that we're really excited to have a conversation to help you guys understand the space a little bit more. So we have Mike King, who's the Managing Director at iPullRank, as well as Andy Crestodina, who's the Chief Marketing Officer at Bython Media. So we're very excited to have everybody here today. Again, the whole thought process here is to learn a little bit more about the SEO space in 2020, how you guys can leverage these insights for your own marketing strategy. We're going to focus primarily on B2B here, but a lot of the concepts that are going to be discussed will apply, no matter if you're a consumer marketer or a B2B marketer. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get to it.
Sounds great. So I'd like to kick off the first question to both Andy and Mike. So what are the top or the biggest emerging trends in SEO that B2B marketers should be paying attention to in 2020?
Well, I'll just say quick, one of the biggest trends in SEO is the fact that search results pages are now filled with so many SERP features that the top organic placement is now far down compared to where it was years ago.
Yeah.
I once did a thing where I compared screenshots from search results pages from like 2013 to today, and you could see just where the #1 ranking was then: 300 pixels from the address bar, 1,200 pixels from the address bar. So the size of the pie has gotten smaller. The percentage of clicks of keywords for which the results are no-click search results, like no one got any visits, is higher. Doesn't mean it's over. Still worth fighting for. There's still hundreds of millions of searches every, lots of searches for which, you can attract a qualified visitor. So, but that one is the SERP feature, and the reduction in click-through rates is probably the biggest one.
Yeah, I agree with Andy on that. The real estate just isn't what it used to be. Dr. Pete over at Mods wrote a blog post about this like last week. To Andy's point, it's down 64% lower than it was before on average. And so I also wrote a blog post last week, like talking about how we need to re-examine how rankings are calculated to begin with, so that you have a better understanding of the context of your position. So by the same token, if you're ranking position 1, but you're 5,000 pixels down, that's not a win. And so I think B2B marketers, and generally speaking, I don't like to make a huge distinction between B2B and B2C, because at the end of the day, you need to figure out who you're talking to. And as long as you have your audience top of mind, the tactics will come from there rather than it being just because it's B2C or B2B. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, I think that, for B2B marketers, especially because there's so much going on the paid media side there, integrated search is the way to go, so that you're making sure that you're maximizing all the opportunities.
Totally makes sense. So I got a question for you guys, because this comes up a lot with colleagues and clients alike. It really relates to crafting a content marketing strategy, and how does SEO come into that? So, on one side of the coin, people look towards SEO findings as far as a way to craft their overall strategy. Inversely, it's like, hey, we're going to base it off of our buyer personas and who we're trying to target, and then use search as a way to essentially get the impressions, the eyeballs to that. What do you guys feel in that regards, as far as from a strategic standpoint? Is it best to use search as that kind of first starting point, or really just go off of what you think would resonate the most from a thought leadership perspective, and then use search as a way to kind of really just get the people to the assets that are being promoted?
Yeah, so because I talked so much about market segmentation, I'll start that way. I prefer to go from the persona end to using the search data to further enhance it and vet the ideas, rather than going the other way. But there's no reason you can't take the opposite approach too. They both can work. It's just, in my experience, I've found that conversion rates tend to be higher when you're doing a more persona-driven strategy. And I also think that it makes sense if you're doing anything that's going to be cross-channel, because market segmentation informs your paid media targeting. It informs, how you're going to approach things in social. It informs how you're segmenting things for email. So I think that it's important to have all that stuff aligned, so that when you create content, it's going to support all of those efforts, rather than just being like, oh, I'm going to answer this question for search and not really think as much about the audience. So I prefer the persona-driven approach.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the keyword first approach to researching topics is kind of weird. And it's a strange way to write. It's like, well, who am I writing for? Never mind that. This phrase seems to have low competition, high volume. What is that necessarily? Does anyone care about that? The other extreme would be I mean, I guess someone's searching for it. Maybe it might be a no-click search result, but someone's searching. The other extreme would be like, I just had a call with Jimmy Daly, who's like head of content at Animals with a Z. It's a content agency. 100% of their content is answering questions they got in sales meetings. They won't write about it unless an actual person asks them an actual question. So that's the other extreme where like, and that I think is brilliant in a way. There's more to life than search. That's like zero waste marketing. When that article is done, you can send it directly to that one person. You know it's going to get traction because someone, a real human ordered the content. So you can include them in while you're creating the content. You can get value from content before it even goes live. If you collaborate with your prospects during the content creation process, asking them for quotes and things. So yeah, I think I've gotten success with a very keyword-focused strategy sometimes, but I can't say that it necessarily supported sales or conversions or aligned with the persona at all. But there's definitely ways to do it. I think the more human, audience-focused way, that will get you better results.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So, I got a question related to Bert. As someone that doesn't necessarily come from the SEO field, I don't know how this really changes things.
It's a Mike question already because I'm out. I don't know Bert. I don't know who Bert is.
Right. So Bert's, a recent update that Google's made, and a lot of people thinking like, hey, do we need to change our strategy? Does it have any effect at all? So with you guys both being really big leaders in this space, very interested in getting some feedback. And obviously we know Mike has an opinion about this, so we'll go ahead and start there.
Yeah, I don't think that anyone needs to do anything differently specifically for Bert. I think that there's been a lot that's been discussed over the last couple of years, and we've been big proponents of it, of what I've been calling technical content optimization. So leveraging natural language processing to make sure that you're accounting for topics and, again, the statistical expectations that search engines have around content. But I don't think Bert specifically is like, oh, let's get a Bert score and then make adjustments from there. Although you can do that, like with respect to featured snippets, you can calculate BERT scores of content and see how competitors are doing. And whenever I've tried this out, because this is a more recent thing for us to play with, we've seen that the thing that has the highest BERT score is the thing that has the featured snippet. But nevertheless, like that information doesn't tell you like, oh, make this adjustment to your content. I think that really it still just needs to be about, okay, what topics are people talking about? What are people having an interest in? And then how do we create content around those topics, which is as simple as the keyword research and writing content around it, or as granular as seeing like what words are other people using to talk about this topic, because the search engine expects me to have those words in my content and then using those words as well.
All right, very cool.
What he said. Sounds good. Make it relevant. Make it good.
I definitely have a question for you both. And Mike, as you and Jonathan know, I'm big on social. So I'm curious about how do you guys leverage influencers for SEO? So what is the relationship between authentic influencer marketing and SEO?
I'll start there. I was at Social Media Marketing World yesterday, and it's interesting to see just like what people care about in a place like that. And there's some very smart marketers there. But there's also a lot of people who are still kind of going after like the vanity metrics and chasing a trend and like, what are you doing on TikTok?
Yeah.
Great. Like there's lots of ways to do it. I think that conference skews a bit more toward B2C marketers who are trying to reach a very large audience with, just for awareness purposes maybe. But if you're serious about using influence for SEO, I think it's good to do what I was suggesting earlier about incorporating people in your content. Use social media to research the experts, connect with them, start a conversation with them, and then invite them into your content through contributor quotes or roundups or interviews and things. Build relationships. It's awesome. I don't know how to do SEO without that. And then content goes live, you promote it together, you're saying thank you. You're using it as a public place to talk more about it. And then the idea is, you make that a habit. It's like eating your vegetables and going to the gym. In the long run, they're going to include you in their content. Mm-hmm. So you have to give people what you want to get. Include people if you want to be included, get contributor quotes from people. I would never write an article without a contributor quote. So the act of creating content is a social action. So that's my favorite way to do it. It's called organic influencer marketing. It's killer for B2B, and it's using social for networking and relationship building beyond just dumping links.
Agreed. So, because over the last couple of years, I've been talking largely about technical SEO, like that's what people have branded me with. But when I first popped up in this space, like I was really heavy on talking about content, using social and SEO together, and link acquisition. And one of the things that I did like a Moz Whiteboard Friday on was like how to use social media for link building. I still to this day believe that is the most effective way to do link building, because you're putting an actual name with a face. You're not just some random email asking like, hey, greetings of the day, can I have a link? It's nothing like that. Like you're an actual real person. And so the approach was always like, again, persona driven, like who are the type of people we're trying to reach with this content? And then who are the people that influence those types of people? And so if you can build those relationships with those folks, not only will they potentially link to you, but they'll also share you, which then has that knock-on effect of potentially creating more links. So it's still about creating those authentic relationships, but the way that you scale who it is that you need to be reaching out to is again through that persona lens. You might use a tool like Rand SparkToro or Follower Wonk or something like that to put in those features of those personas, figure out who is influencing those people, and now you have your list of people that you want to connect with in the various ways, and then scale that link acquisition or whatever it is you're trying to do with respect to SEO through building those authentic connections.
Yeah, there are people who sometimes I get like a text message and someone says, hey, can you link to this? And I do it within 5 minutes. Why? Because we're buddies. We're friends. Yeah. We've collaborated 100 times. I talk to him every month. Like we drink beers together. We know each other from way back. That's not weird at all. But if you cold email me or anybody, just never send cold email. Stop form submission spam. It's a waste of time. What are the success? It's just it gives SEO a bad name. I have a folder filled with screenshots of these ridiculous emails. Like literally one of them says, I write good content for you. Like that was their pitch. That was a pitch.
Hey, at least it was concise, right?
Right.
Got right to the point.
Comic Sans, like I could tell you stories, man.
No, people are really writing out emails to you in Comic Sans.
Yeah, I've got
screenshots. I get those too.
Oh yeah, really?
It's crazy. Yeah,
yep.
I'm like,
several
first
a day.
of all, yeah, if you're gonna copy and paste, like do paste as plain text so it doesn't look ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like almost every day. I'm looking now. I won't bother doing it now, but I could tell you what. But at the end of this call, ask me, and I'll tell you if I got one of those spam outreach emails during this conversation. Likely, yes.
Actually, I want to follow up on that before you go, Jonathan, if you don't mind.
No, you're good.
As both of you guys being decision makers, right? And you just brought up the great point of cold outreach. What do you think the effectiveness of cold outreach or cold emails is from a sales perspective? And what are the best ways to reach out to you? What are some of the creative ways the sales guys have reaching out to you with good content?
I mean, I just don't think you should ever do cold outreach because you don't have to anymore. You can start the relationship by sharing, commenting, liking, promoting, endorsing, connecting. Like there's 10 things you can do on social before you send the cold email. So I'll know who you are. If you are going to send me a cold email, I got one that I responded to. It was someone who said, hey, Andy, I love your content. Is there anything you've written lately that I can help promote for you? Yeah, I responded to that email right away. This person wants to give before they expect anything, right? So yeah, if you're going to send a cold email, maybe just try offering to help someone and then, just be good to people first instead of, I don't know. This makes me cynical and I'm bummed out by it. So I'll stop there.
I'm actually kind of the opposite because I've gotten cold emails that were actually valuable and I've ended up buying things because of these cold emails. And to that end, I do collect a lot of emails. Like, when I see them, I'm like, yo, this is a good email. I'll even respond to whoever was reaching out to me and be like, yo, what's your response rate for this? Like, so I can figure out if there's value that can be used in other things. But I think it really just comes down to one, timing, and two, there being actual value for the person that you're talking to. There's a tool that we started using recently called Rippling. And what it's for is like managing like computers within a business and putting all your company software in one place and all this. And I would have never known about that had they not reached out to me. I didn't need it immediately when they reached out, but I was like, yo, this is a cool tool. This is actually something I need. So I don't think that cold outreach is inherently wrong. I just think a lot of people spray and pray and, don't really show value. And there's a lot of ways. There's so much information about anyone you're reaching out to the point of social media. where you can find out what they need based on what they're sharing, and then say, oh, here's something I can help you with, and start that conversation.
Yeah,
Right.
I totally agree with you both. You know, Mike, we've been doing it pretty heavy on social, so I definitely agree with the relationship building. There's so many different ways that you can reach out to your potential ideal customers and really form a relationship before there's a cold outreach. Personally, I've been doing that more so than the cold outreach email and seeing more success with that. So I'm glad to hear you both say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more as well. And I think the big takeaway is like maybe don't be so reliant on using cadences and sales engagement platforms that you're sending the same thing over and over again. You know, to Andy's point, if there's something that you can give, great. And to Mike's point, like, you know, if you understand timing, you know a little bit about the company, you realize like, okay, this is when they might be coming up for a tool like this, and lead with value, you know, how it could positively impact the business, rather like, hey, here are my 3 bullet points for value proposition and a Calendly link, and now I'm just going to pray that someone actually wants to talk to me. So yeah, it's very interesting how, you know, technology's been a great thing for sales, and it's also been a terrible thing. And I can't tell you how many times I see people complain about getting some sort of sales loft or outreach cadence where it's just the same nonsense over and over again. The only thing that's personalized is a first name token, you know? So,
or it's Wednesday, how you doing?
And they're so long. People don't write, friends don't write to each other that way. Like you get these, like you connect with someone on LinkedIn and then like 8 minutes later, they send you like 6 paragraphs. Like social selling, it's out of control.
It is. So
sure.
the best email that like on LinkedIn has ever worked for me, because sometimes I'll do cold outreach because it's like, yo, I need some more clients. And I said in the past, it was the subject is, when are we going to work together? And my response rate was like 30%, which, I mean, you know, obviously we can't see opens like that on LinkedIn, but I was happy with that. And
That's
it was
huge.
real short and to the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
Short's good.
And to close out, you know, got one quick question here for you guys. So, you know, Andy published a recent report on some findings regarding bounce rate, right? And how that affects page ranking and things of that nature. So really interested in getting some perspective from you guys on that. Is bounce rate like kind of an end all be all thing that people need to be looking at, or is it just a small factor when it comes to page ranking? Because I know you guys both have a keen eye for this particular statistic and how it overall affects SEO efforts. So, you know, Andy, as you did put out this report, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this as far as how it relates to your business at Orbit Media. So we'd love to get your feedback.
Yeah, well, it wasn't like a keyword first strategy, but it really isn't my favorite topic because I think people put too much emphasis on bounce rate. People ask a lot. It's a common question. What's a good bounce rate, or why is my bounce rate so high? I can't believe 50% of my visitors are leaving my site without seeing a second page. Or their analytics isn't even set up to record it accurately. There's lots of issues that come with bounce rate. It's not a great metric in a lot of ways. But we looked at 500 GA accounts and found the average bounce rate across those accounts was 61. We removed the outliers. We did it by industry. We did it by traffic source. And basically 61% was the average bounce rate across all these accounts. There you go. Now you know. That's an average benchmark for you. Is it a search ranking factor? Boy, I could share my screen, but I'd show you my top ranking articles, my most powerful traffic generators, and they have bounce rates in like the 95 percentile, many of them. But look at the time on page. It's like 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. So and this is a very small data set because it's just my account, but my experience has been bounce rate means nothing to Google. The job is to be a great answer, meet visitors' expectations, and satisfy their information needs. And so time on page, if anything, if there's a user interaction signal that matters, it'd be time on page or dwell time, not bounce rate. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I agree with you. In your case, I would say you might want to consider an adjusted bounce rate, because, like, you know, if someone's on the page for 6 minutes, that's not a bounce. That's like you're saying, like they've consumed the content.
Right.
And I think dwell time is definitely something that's in play because, you know, with Google shifting towards more of a machine learning model for, you know, their scoring functions and so on, there has to be a response variable. And the response has to be the user's action. And so, you know, when they do all those different tests to determine like the accuracy, the precision of rankings and such, like they do all the A/B tests and such, that is one of the basic measures in information retrieval. Before Google is even involved, like that is a best practice for any type of search engine. So yeah, I completely believe and would stake my reputation on the fact that they are using dwell time as a measure to determine user satisfaction. Oh, and I was gonna also say that we do see, like when we do competitive analysis and we pull data from tools like SimilarWeb and so on and stack it with rankings and things, we do see that there is a correlation between performance and those dwell times, and then ultimately, unfortunately, the bounce rate as well. But I do believe that it's not just bounce rate. And Google will also say like, hey, we don't use bounce rate. Of course they don't. They would use something more like a dwell time to basically triangulate that same idea.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys, for providing, some feedback there. As I think we all know, bounce rate's something that's questioned a lot, as far as how important is it. And I think both you guys shed a lot of light there, to help people understand how that truly factors as far as search is concerned. So, with that said, really appreciative of everybody's time here. It was great having this conversation. I think there's a lot of value that could be had from this talk here, and certainly appreciate everybody's time here. We'll supply some additional information as far as like Andy's research and some insights from iPullRank as well for you guys to continue your education in regards to SEO and how it can help you craft your marketing strategy. So thanks so much, guys.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you, John.